What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue with our 2024 schedule preview and projected record series. Arizona State is up next. Let's take a look back at their schedule from 2023. You can see a 3-9 record, obviously a disappointing season. In the non-conference, they did beat Southern Utah, but they lost to Oklahoma State and Fresno State. Of course, Oklahoma State would now be a conference game as Arizona State joins the Big 12. And it's kind of strange. They beat Washington State and UCLA, but they lost to Cal, they lost to Colorado, lost to Fresno State. So it's kind of an inconsistent year for Arizona State. You look at the 2024 schedule, and we'll start with the non-conference. It's kind of a tricky non-conference schedule. You've got Wyoming and Texas State, two of the better group of 5 teams, and then you've got an SEC team and Mississippi State. So that's going to be, I think, a pretty challenging non-conference schedule for Arizona State. We look at the rest of the home schedule in the Big 12. They've got Kansas, Utah, UCF, and BYU. UCF, BYU, maybe games that they can win. I think Kansas and Utah are going to be tough. You look at the road schedule in the Big 12. They've got Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Arizona. So 5 road games in the Big 12, and those are all going to be tough. Cincinnati, maybe they could pull off a win there, but it's hard to imagine them winning these other games. Maybe Texas Tech, but yeah, this is going to be a tough schedule for Arizona State. They'll open up with Wyoming on August 31st, and then it's Mississippi State on September 7th, and then a quick turnaround for a weeknight road game at Texas State. That's going to be very tricky. After that, they'll play Texas Tech on the road the next week. Then they get a bye week before returning home to face Kansas on October 5th. And then a quick turnaround, a weeknight game against Utah. They'll be fired up for that one, I'm sure. They go to Cincinnati the next week on the road. And then on the road at Oklahoma State on November 2nd. There's actually a bye week in between those two games, so they don't have to travel 2 weeks in a row. They've got UCF at home on November 9th. And then Kansas State on the road on the 16th. Back home for BYU on November 23rd. And they close things out with Arizona on the road November 30th. We lost some of those rivalry games in the Pac-12, but hey, at least we get to keep Arizona State. And again, that's how the season will end for the Sun Devils. So let's get to the projections now. These are the projections from last year. I projected them at 4-8. I picked them to go 4-8. Athlon had them at 4-8. And the over-under was at 4.5. So they really were a disappointment, honestly. I mean, 3-9, expected to at least get to 4-8, and they did not. You can maybe circle to that Fresno State game. Maybe if they win that game, then they get to 4-8. But, yeah, disappointing season last year. Not very high projections. We get to the projections for 2024, and this is the scale that we use. We've done this in every video. And look, these are coming out really conservative. It's like every team in the Big 12 is between 6-6 and 8-4. And so, some of these projections I would like to change. Basically, you got to go all the way back to January, and we quickly did our tier system. And, I've had to roll with that since January, but obviously things have changed since then. My opinion has changed on teams. I've done a lot more research on teams. And so it is what it is. And again, these are very conservative projections, but our predictions could look a lot different here coming up in just a few weeks. But Wyoming, Texas State, I think these are games where Arizona State's going to be favored by about a touchdown. Not huge favorites, but they should be favored against group of 5 opponents. And I think they're going to be about a touchdown underdog. So this is kind of where I would probably change this. So like Oklahoma State, I would definitely put in the orange. Kansas State, Arizona, I'd maybe put those in the orange. Utah and Kansas, they are at home, but those are going to be tough games as well. Maybe put Utah in the orange. And so again, I'll go and tell you right now, I'm not going to pick Arizona State to win any of these games. At least I don't think I will. I definitely wouldn't pick them to win more than one. And that's, again, where the projections are going to be a lot different than the predictions. And you'll see that big time if you look back at 2023 with Cincinnati. The last team that we still have to do, we'll do them tomorrow. I don't remember the exact number. You'll see it in the video, but like the projection was 7-5 maybe, and I predicted them to go 2-10. So obviously there can be a huge gap in our projection and my actual prediction. This is just the formula that we use, and it gives us, again, a very conservative projection. So those will be tough games. The projection is 6-6 for Arizona State. Again, every team in the Big 12 seems to be at least 6-6, because the odds would say, look, they're going to split the 50-50 games. And you could do it like this. You could say that they'll get 2.5 wins in the 50-50 games, and if you take off 2 yellow and 2 purple, that's going to get them 2 more wins. That gets them to 4.5. And then odds would say if you got 3 games in the yellow, you're going to win 1 of those, which would give them 5.5 wins. And that was the number was like just above 5.5, or it may have actually been 5.5. And so it rounds up to 6 and 6, but they were closer to 5 and 7 than 7 and 5, and very, very close. You change, just a couple of these projections, like change Oklahoma State and Kansas State and put them in the orange, then you're down to 5 and 7. So this is a tough schedule. 6 and 6, I think, is being optimistic. Maybe they can hit it, but probably not. But that is what our formula is going to give you: 6 and 6 for Arizona State. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts on the Sun Devils down in the comments below.